So I'm going to call this meeting to order. Do we need to set a time? I don't think we've done it in the past. But at 5:10, just for the record, or note-taking purposes. So we are going to do a roll call and welcome our new members. Please tell me your name, please.
Jordan Porter Mesh.
Okay, so, how do you say your last name?
It's Porter Mesh.
Oh, Porter Mesh. Perfect. Porter Mesh. Got it. Okay, see? There we go. Thank you. So, Commissioner Ford.
Present.
Commissioner Miller.
Present.
Commissioner Ramsong.
Rapson, present.
Okay, thank you. Okay. And Commissioner Porter Mesh.
Present.
Okay, and Commissioner McCullough. That's
Yes, yes.
right?
Oh, and present.
Commissioner Brown Sparks.
Disney, I'm here.
All right, so we have a quorum. And I would like to welcome our new member here, Commissioner, I'm gonna write it down too, Porter, is it Mesh?
Mesh.
I just added this because that's the correct spelling,
Thank you.
but put it however it makes sense.
Yeah, it's like, you know.
Got it. Make a note of that. All right, so thank you for joining this lovely commission. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I know the feeling is mutual around the table and via Zoom. So thank you for joining us. Right. So our next order of business is to approve our agenda.
So I actually am gonna make a move that,
Motion.
motion, a motion that we add under committees, members resignation / joining, so that we can invite our new members to join.
All right.
I'll second that.
And then also, I'm gonna add within that amendment, that we also do members reports. Under that, now that not everyone's in the commissions or the committees, that we can. So that's gonna be a second.
I'm just gonna ask for that as well.
Yes.
Awesome. So are there any objections to that? All right.
Thank you.
And I make a move to approve the agenda with those amendments.
Yeah, second, third.
And then, do we vote? Are there any objections to approve the agenda with those corrections? All right,
No,
perfect. All right, so we have to, the next, let me get together. The next order of business on our agenda is approving the minutes for July 5th, 2022 and July 26th of 2022.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes on from July 5th,
Okay,
2022.
but then I'll second it. Are there any objections to approving the minutes for July 5th? Okay, so moved.
Thank you.
And for the next date here, July 26th, would anybody like to make a motion?
Alexa.
I'm trying to hear what I'm sorry.
I think if we're not, she has Alexa talking.
Okay, sorry.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
My Alexa does that too. Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve July 26th, 2022 minutes.
I'll second.
Okay. Any objections?
No,
We're
Not
doing it
here.
together. All right. So the minutes are approved for July 5th, 2022 and July 25th, 2022. Did you have a question? Oh, no, that's what I'm sorry. I thought you raised your hand. I'm seeing things today. It's. All right, so we're gonna go to our reports. My fellow co-chair, do you have anything to report?
Nothing major. As I mentioned in my email, though, in joining virtually, It's certainly a constraint. I would rather be there in person with you, but it's an affordance because I get to experience a different community and how the topics that we're looking into are not just Bloomington specific, even though they're based in Bloomington. So hoping that can inform us and kind of add to the different things we're thinking. So it's rather than just looking at other communities and what they've done based on their reports, this is actually visiting. And so I'm hoping this will be beneficial for all of us.
Amazing. I hope that experience is great for you. Okay, so I don't have anything to report this month. So I believe we can go on and go to the next order of business, which is the committees. Any reports from the recreation and let me get back to the recreation and Tony?
Well, I've been talking with Toya about the finding help, the Bloomington the Helping Bloomington Monroe Find Help app. And it's something that was also discussed at CHIPS. And it's something where I had signed up to go to the navigator training because if people need help, sometimes they can't figure out all the steps in the paperwork. And that is a way that you can help the people all the way through the process so that they can get the help that they need. So say if somebody is homeless and they don't have all the identification that they need, eventually that system, if you're at a program, they can change the application stuff and make it so that that person can qualify with the things that they have and meet the program requirements. So I had signed up to go to the navigator training. I'd sent an email to Toya after Friday's meeting, because in the meeting on Friday, a lot of people at the different agencies were discussing that they wanted to know how much it was used by all of the people and how many people were served and the numbers like on a regular basis. But they said they didn't have anybody that did that and they didn't know how to do that. So I sent a message to Toya and she introduced me to Aubrey, and Aubrey has just started in a position at the city to help do some of that. And so she's trying to figure out what to do about the navigator training. And I just received an email from her, so I haven't had a chance to really reach out and talk more to her about that. But I was going to talk to her since I had already signed up for the navigator training and make sure that that's still okay to do. But I wanted to see if maybe that's something that we might be able to look into, if maybe there's people we can train, maybe even to do the navigator training, or if that's something that we would want to do as part of our services with CAPS and something that we can join in our partnership with the programs that are in the community to help with the services, so that there is less of a need and there's less of a situation that would happen that the police would be involved to go to people's house, because the situation would be taken care of beforehand.
Just a question, is this the navigator position for health insurance or all across the board, just community resources?
It's all across the board for community resources.
Okay.
That sounds really interesting, Commissioner Brown Sparks. Thank you for signing up for the navigator position. I hope that there's follow through, not from you, but with them. And you can tell us more about it when you hopefully get through with that. And I'm looking forward to hearing more about it. So thank you.
Thank you.
So it sounds like an important tool that can be really useful for us.
I agree 100% with that, everything. That's amazing. Thank you.
I did take a look at it online and it looked like I didn't know anything about it. So I'm I'm really excited to know about it. So just even finding out about it is, I think, important for our community.
Right, because there's a lot of people that don't know anything about that site at all.
So, does the research committee have anything to report?
We do.
All right.
We're looking forward to a meeting. What day was
September.
Semi calendar.
it? September
Yeah.
12.
12th.
12, yes.
So we're looking forward to meeting on September 12th and starting to line out what we're going to be working on. In addition to, we're going to be working on this, you'll see it in unfinished business under unfinished business, item number B, letter B. But we're going to be looking at the START program that Commissioner Brown Sparks had brought up, and among other things. So we'll be fleshing out our plans in our next meeting. And we're always open to ideas. So, I would like to, may I? Maybe this is a time to ask if people want to be on the 2 committees that there are. There's still 2 committees,
Yes.
and then there's working groups. So, Commissioner Portermesh, I just don't know you yet. It'll take me 3 or 4 times and just, so are you interested maybe in being on one of the 2 committees?
Research definitely. I
Okay.
would want to get a little more information on the operations and quite to understand what exactly is going on there before I want to maybe get into that. But
Okay.
research.
Okay, so you now know that you have a meeting September 12th, and that your feet will get hot if you don't attend in person. Okay. Just kidding on that. Seriously, just kidding on that. Hope you can attend in person at 5 p.m.
It's a really great committee.
Yeah, and we can reach out to you for reparations as well, and
Yes.
give you a little bit more ideas and feedback.
Yeah.
About what we're doing and the thoughts and stuff like that.
Yeah, that would be great.
Thank you for joining me.
Yes.
We don't burn people in our group. It's kind of,
We don't really do that either. We just joke around. We like to have fun. But we don't burn people.
no, we make that joke in our group.
I'm sorry.
So what are the working groups now?
So,
There's no official working groups, there's just people that maybe will send emails or
Okay,
talk and discuss about different topics that we can bring here. So this is where I also thought we should do member reports, so if
Yes.
any member had a topic they were looking into.
I'm gonna write that down, member report.
If you all would like to include that as a regular agenda item.
Yeah, we'd love that.
Could you do that?
thank you.
I have a report.
Sure.
The Alternative Policing Study Group, which is an informal group made up of members of our commission and one volunteer community member who's an ex-commissioner of this commission. We met and we are carrying out the first research phase of the investigation. This started out in one of the committees and we ended up dissolving it so that we could meet without having to be here in person and meet the quorum, so that we can just meet on Zoom, basically.
Yeah, they've been watching all of the meetings.
Oh, cool. So, yeah, we started our first step, which was, we had selected 5 programs nationwide that we think fit the best practices for a model for us to research in more depth. And we assigned them to one to each of us. And we just started reaching out, making contact one-on-one to the different programs to carry out one-on-one informational interviews. We made really detailed plans that we will follow so that we have consistent information to compare between the different programs and hopefully solicit any and all helpful information. Yeah, and Commissioner Mike Lick is literally researching his program in person in Denver right now, which is very exciting. And the rest of us are doing it by phone or Zoom or something like that. And we are also open to new members. If you would like to help with that, we could use the help as well. And related to that, we decided to make a request in the meeting today for a small budget for us to work with a local research firm to help us carry out our community research. So it's gnarly tree with a G, and that's Stephanie Richards, and she's worked with the city before. She's actually the main local consultant that they use to do IU Health and the CHIP program and all that. So she's experienced with this. And yeah, she has already tentatively said that she could help us with this work if we can access the city budget. And I know there's a budget set aside for this purpose already that the city has, because like we've accessed it from another commission I'm on for the same purpose.
How do you spell the gnarly tree?
With a G.
Is it N-A-R-G?
It's Gnarly.
He says Stephanie Richards.
Like gnarly dude. Yeah, Stephanie Richards.
Stephanie,
is her name.
Thank you.
Yeah, she's a local sustainability research company, and she's already worked with the city on these types of things before, so she's
Right.
really well known in the community for
Excellent.
doing this sort of thing. And so, yeah, I think the budget we had discussed would be maybe $2,000 for her to work with us this fall.
Is that
carry
going
out
towards, does that go to her, or is that what the
her
budget pays
and her
for?
staff?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it would go to her and her staff. She does have student workers as well, and I think her rate is 100 an hour, and her staff is 75, and then student rate is 50 an hour, I believe.
And you're asking that she goes and researches these models, or?
No, we're doing the research. We're asking for her help mainly with the community outreach portion, where we want to have public dialogues with like, different tracks for, to elicit the feedback from the community and from all the important stakeholders in alternative policing. So, if it, we had some ideas for doing it ourselves. And then, it occurred to me on this other commission that we actually had funds to pay someone to help with something similar that we did. And so I thought, well, let me just talk to her and see if she'd be available. And she said she is. So, that's what we agreed in our alternative policing informal group meeting to make that request.
I'd like to see kind of a breakdown, if you don't mind, just a little breakdown of what that budget would look like and where it would go from your committee, like in writing. Nothing too formal, just,
Like a scope of services.
yeah, pretty much, yeah. That would be helpful.
Yeah, we're currently asking for one. I wanted to just raise it.
Yeah.
That's
I
great.
think if the city would be able to do that, because I know for this commission, they told us like, we don't get any access to funds. I don't know if that was the same with your
They
other,
actually have a separate budget just for this,
okay.
for commissions, at least that's.
So in other words,
For the
we-
other commission I'm on. But the city
So does
has
that mean we
funds.
can tap into that for the research committee too then?
That was through Warren Clemens. I'll reach out to her to see where that funding came from. It's something available to all commissions. That's news to me, and I'm happy to report back to you all on that.
Yeah, we're gonna want some.
I know the city also had budgeted items for, I don't know what you use funding for, the Commission on Sustainability.
Mhm.
There may have been money budgeted for that commission specifically. I've mentioned other departments do budget for their, so happy to look into it and report back. If there's a pool of money available that I just wasn't aware of, that's great news. So I'll look into the details on how to access that.
Yeah, I think it was specifically, for hiring outside consultants to help with research.
Yes. Thanks for that report.
Yeah, that's interesting. That sounds really,
Well,
I think like a
especially
good
since
tool.
this is the flagship. I mean, it's kind of the flagship, one of the flagship purposes of our commission
Yes.
is to research alternative policing and to do community outreach. It makes sense to me if we're gonna access any kind of budget money to use it for this.
Absolutely.
absolutely, I agree. And while we as a research committee are doing the community outreach, that's different. We're collecting data. And that's a little bit different. So,
Yes. So, are we, moving on to the welcome/removal or the report of removed commissioners?
yes,
So, welcome, Ms. Renee. We're so excited to have you here.
can barely hear you.
Okay. Either it's low or it's loud. So I try. Keep it at half a minute. And I'm deaf from kids screaming in my yard all day. So welcome. And please, feel free to reach out to any of us at any time. If you have any questions, and I'm just so happy you're here.
Happy to be here.
Okay, and as far as the removal, so what did you want to talk about, that commissioner board?
Do we have any removals?
Resignations of members.
Oh, no, I just was saying that because like sometimes like the joining / resignation to have that as at least a line for when we have new members and
Okay.
then in case anyone else wanted to resign, that's what we did in the past.
Okay, awesome, yes, I was like, oh, hold on, you know something, I don't know. So, I believe we do not have any reports on any, commissioners that have, resigned, within the last, within our last meeting, I'll say. We know about Commissioner Mann. So, yes.
That was sad.
That was settled, yes. So, next we have our staff report.
No staff report today. I know there's some information from last month's meeting, which we're working together and some new information work to share with you all. If we have that before your next meeting, we may just go ahead and email that out so that we're not waiting 2 months to share that with you all. So
Perfect.
council office has 3 new folks starting between now and next week. So we should have some additional capacity in the very near future, which I'm excited about. So hopefully that means we're able to help support this commission a bit more. So that's it.
But I will add and say that you guys have been supportive. You've been amazing, so I don't want you to think you haven't been, so. All right, so this is the time now where we take comment from the public.
Is there any public there? Yes, Sam.
We have one member of the public, I believe. So
Mr.
Sam, if you'd like to comment, you're welcome to either use the raise hand function, or if you want to send a chat, I can read that out loud. And if I get any messages after we move past public comment, I'm happy to pass that along to commissioners. Just as a general matter, if anyone contacts us, we forward that on to you all, especially if they request it. I don't see hands going up or messages coming in right this second.
Okay. So I know that normally we fit in a break in this particular area. Is that needed at this moment, a break? No? All
I
right,
don't need one. Does anybody else need one?
all right,
I might check back in later.
yes. All right, so we are gonna move on to, until we hear from the public. We're gonna move on to unfinished business. So I see here on the response to the overturn of Roe versus Wade, I believe that's gonna be reported by Commissioner Ford, if I'm not mistaken, or is it Commissioner Miller? Or did we-
Both of us have been
Both of
working
you?
on it.
So both Commissioner Miller and Commissioner Ford.
So yeah, we've been working on this resolution since our last session. We have based it off of the Austin, Texas, Grace Act, which was a resolution signed, and then they also signed, I believe, 2 or 3 other resolutions and made a city ordinance. But we based this off of their main resolution that they passed. And has everyone had a chance to read through it?
I have personally. Does anyone need more time to read through this resolution? Are there any questions about the resolution?
Oh, are we voting on it?
She's asking if there's any questions about it right now.
Yeah, like, do we have like?
Any discussion? about it?
Yeah. Before, I don't think, are we approving?
We're gonna see how the discussion goes.
Okay, perfect. All right. I'm here with you guys
Yeah,
now.
I'm not gonna be ready to vote on it.
Okay.
And I probably will make a motion to vote on it tonight because
I
we've
read it,
got,
but I haven't had a chance to look at the citation.
right, and I'm sure I'll make a motion to vote on it because we've got a budget's coming up, so we're hoping to get some budget dollars for it.
Should we do it like the old school way we used to, where everyone talks?
Sure, yes.
I remember we did that when I first started.
Yeah.
Or do 1 round of discussion and then have a chance to do a second round if we'd like. Does
Right.
anyone want us to explain this more? I know you've already read it, so I don't want to like physically read it out unless anyone wants us to.
Well, I know that, Commissioner, I'm trying to get my lucky, rap song, please forgive me, I know that she was saying that she didn't get a chance to read it, so maybe if you could explain it more, I mean.
Oh, no, I read it.
Okay, sorry.
Just not the citation.
I read it, I
Just not the
haven't had a chance to look at the citation.
Ah, I see.
letter.
Okay.
Um,
I see what you're saying.
So what the
Can
citation
you talk
was,
more about like the resolution, like the resolution part, like what are we asking for?
Yeah, so the whereas is kind of just like our background information, what we're making statements about. So other than the state and federal law, we're asking that city funds not be used to store, catalog, report of any abortion, miscarriage aside from the law or another criminal investigation. And then also with that, we're asking that so basically we're asking not to collect that information unless it's a part of a criminal investigation, enforcement, prosecution. And then the lower, this is something really similar to other cities where we're asking for low priority when it comes to criminalization and prosecution. We know we cannot do that. So this is why we're asking that they sign on to something similar, recognizing what they can do, the city can do, and where they can advocate for these changes to be made. And then our second part is the bigger part, is the part that has like the budgeting. So Planned Parenthood and all options is who we recommend, but also other stakeholders if the city were to decide differently. Because we're asking the city to figure out those aspects, you know, but we recommend at least $75,000. And
So what did the city's resolution on this state?
can you pull up the city's resolution, please? Stephen? Thank you.
Are you talking about the Bloomington city or Austin?
The 2215,
Okay.
the 2215, I think is what you're asking.
Yeah.
correct?
Yes.
Yeah,
That stated that they're in support of legislative action and things like that for the future. That was their resolutions for the most part, was we're in support of these future actions.
and we were at that meeting and we said that we were gonna be passing this along to them.
Yes, if it gets past our commission. So
Yes, if it gets passed our commission, we would be passing this along to them.
We
And
would be passing what along?
this resolution,
because
For
we're
them to look at.
recommending the city council
Oh, of course,
enact this.
yeah.
yes, yes.
What was the resolution?
2215, and Stephen put it up on
And so
the
where's the
on the
reference to that in, in this resolution?
citations.
I
It's
see the
citation three.
citation. I see, but it's not mentioned in the actual resolution besides that citation.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, no, it actually is.
Yeah.
It actually is. Page 10 on this. At the top of page 10 in your packet.
We reference the reversal of Roe v. Wade. Sorry.
And also the bottom of page 9, it starts figure out.
Yeah, we're referencing the local public officials letter and then their resolution.
And right there's their resolution.
Yeah, it's kind of hard because it's split it up in between pages, so.
Right,
So wait, oh, I see it here, okay.
Yes.
yes.
Whereas the city council has repeatedly demonstrated their commitment. Release of this letter.
Yeah, their letter and then this resolution.
So that mostly expressed their support for legislative action, but didn't actually lay out any of these further requests.
Right, and they're looking for action, and we're bringing them action, and then they're gonna consider the action. And we will be meeting with council members this week to discuss,
Yeah, so
to
they
discuss further.
are saying they're in support of legislative efforts, consistent with what they said before, which was them expressing their support for the protecting reproductive rights.
So I'm asking this question too, and I'm quite sure that this has been, maybe a discussion within you all writing this resolution. What about HIPAA violation? Does that not matter anymore?
At this time, and this will change come January,
Mhm,
at this time, a person with a vaginal canal
mhm.
will not be prosecuted
Okay.
if they seek an abortion in the state of Indiana between September 15th
Mhm,
and the end of the year.
okay.
We anticipate that changing
Mhm,
come January, because they've got a whole slew of things they're gonna throw at this
of course.
to make it more difficult for anyone with a vaginal canal to be able to, or to legislate against people having any bodily autonomy.
And so that first portion,
Thought just
the
ran,
first
you know.
3 bullet points is, that is our proactive step. We kind of state that later on is like, we want to take that proactive step of saying, hey, these are the recommendations that we suggest you make in order to protect it. And if those policy decisions be made by the state, will already have something in place, or they can look back at this and sign a new resolution at that point.
And of course, the city council has to go through different processes than we do. So, that's not gonna look the same as what we do.
Yeah.
Because they have lots of different things they have to do to make something happen.
Okay. Like, for instance, the Austin resolution, they used the draft piece and made that into one primary resolution. Then they took a part of their draft piece, this part, put it into an ordinance, which we are obviously limited by legal decisions of like how much they can do statewide, because our policies may be different in our state than Texas. But so they made an ordinance for what they could do, and then they also went on and made different resolutions that were kind of based off of this as well. So that's what we hope the city does, is say, hey, we looked over this, we figured out with legal exactly what all we can do, how we can do it. We're gonna pass this as saying, hey, whereas to be further resolved in the future, we're planning to do this. And then having them actually setting up those avenues to build more resolutions, to work on their funding, budgeting, all those different things.
Perfect. I see, would you mind emailing me a copy of the resolution? I can't find it anywhere.
The first
For Austin, Texas,
Or,
or resolution 22.
I've seen one for Austin, Texas,
Yeah.
Texas, because you guys have shown it to us. I want to see the one for Bloomington. I tried to find it online, but I cannot.
You won't find it until it's recorded.
Okay, got it.
And that's why we had Stephen pull it up.
Okay.
And that's why the link, when Commissioner Ratzon was trying to use the link, didn't work.
Got it. Okay.
Because
Perfect.
it hasn't been recorded by the recorder's office yet.
Okay, got it.
However, he is magical,
Yes.
and so is Commissioner Ford,
Yes.
who also was able to share it. So we were able to see
Is
it.
it in our email now? Because if it is,
It would be yours.
Okay, thank you so
It's
much.
in the packet, well, a link to it is in the
Yeah,
resolution.
a link is in
But
it.
I'll email it to you all.
All links work now.
awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it. So does anyone else have a comment or question about the resolution / citation?
Are we gonna ask, in terms of the fund,
Yes.
I've been looking into this issue a little bit, and something that I was reading about is, the correlation between pregnancy and domestic violence,
Mhm.
and how homicide is one of the leading causes of death in pregnant people. So I was curious about funding to something like Middle Way House, or some other organization that deals with domestic violence, or funding maybe for childcare. There are a lot of related issues that are gonna come up, with this particular topic. Are we gonna address funding for those kind of things at any point, or are we
That's
just
a great-
focused on
that's
Planned
a-
Parenthood and all?
And I had a related question.
That's a very good,
How were these two organizations chosen?
so
Yeah.
that's a very good question on that. There are a multitude of grants that the city has at their disposal. And there's Jack Hopkins grant, and it gets divvied up. And I think what the city is, we don't have the power to do anything with grants.
Right.
But we have the power to ask that this be on their radar a little bit more. And they already, it already is.
Yeah.
It already is. But we're hoping it's gonna be a line item specific, because we know that the need is already showing up. I mean, I have diapers in my car right now. More, their need has gone up, and it hasn't even become law yet. So domestic violence is addressed with, when they give the grants, domestic violence is definitely addressed when they're giving money through different grants. And I suspect they're gonna see a greater need because there's gonna be more pregnancies. So I can only hope that they're going to throw more money that way too.
Okay.
We chose these two because we looked at,
Yeah, we were looking at like the main resources in town that support people who have become pregnant in need of those types of resources. Obviously, in Indiana, there's laws against providing any federal funding or state funding, local funding for abortion-related care. So our thought process is, hey, if we can provide them with funding for like all options diaper program, they've also talked about like having call lines or something like that to, help people more with resources. If we can provide funding in those avenues, and we also broke down our funding by reproductive health care, gynecological health care, and or parenting related expenses, because I was thinking that too, of like, how can we help many people, as when we were talking with all options, many people who are going to seek treatment, medical treatment, are parents themselves. So we want to ensure that we're trying to get as many avenues covered. Our second line of that to be further resolved is saying how much the increased need for additional resources. We asked that an ongoing budget be considered for yearly distribution during the annual budget cycle. We made that into a second line because we're saying this is our start, the 75K, that's our start. We're recommending that more money go towards these different resources in general. And if we also didn't put like the organization's names in that line too, because we're trying to say, hey, from the different agencies in town, all of their needs are going to be increased,
All right, so it kind of intentionally left ambiguous.
Yes.
yeah, it sure did. So hopefully that answered both of your questions.
Try to be a little more specific for the first one and then more ambiguous for the second bullet point.
So on a related note, then I assume that means that, I mean, I'm pretty familiar with Planned Parenthood, and I know they're a nationally recognized program as well. It seems fairly credible. I don't know as much about all options, and so my follow-up question is, how have these organizations been vetted for this purpose?
So All Options is actually a national program. They now have offices, well, not offices, but people all throughout the country working with them. They decided to make their home base in Indiana. They've been around for quite a few years. The Bloomington, Indiana actually have already given them money in the past through those grant programs to start up like the diaper drive and then to offer additional support. So they've been vetted. The city of Bloomington has recognized them as, you know, an important organization now.
Yeah.
So Jessica Marchbank is the state program manager, and she works here in Bloomington. Commissioner Rapson.
They also have, I don't know if it's the only, but it's one of the biggest Hoosier-based, Indiana-based abortion funds. So, and they're like the leaders of that. They also have a 24-hour resource line.
Yes.
So they're legit. We can get you in touch with them if you had more questions, because I was interested when we Zoomed with them. It was really nice to get to hear all the different things they were doing, you know.
A very nice set of people.
Yes.
They really are pretty awesome people.
I don't have any questions about the funding request. So what is the objective behind the first bullet point in the resolution of storing, not using, it's the policy of the city. City funds will not be used to store, catalog. Wait, is this something that the resolution is asking for to be changed, or is this saying, we're just saying, here's what the policy is, in this whole paragraph?
So what we're saying is city funds not be used to do the following.
We're requesting
Yeah,
that they
to
not
be resolved in
Right.
the future, yeah.
Right, to be resolved in the future. We're not saying there necessarily are being that because they may very well not be, but they might want to in the future. And we're really hoping that the city says, no, we really don't want to do that. Because we want to protect bodily autonomy. And that was the reason.
It is the policy of the city that, comma, and then city funds will not be used to. So it kind of, I don't know, it sounds like it's just stating what the city policy is to me.
The city doesn't do this now.
Yeah, so the city's not doing it now, and it's our policy to, you know,
It's our hope.
ensure,
To keep it that way, basically.
yeah.
Okay.
Stephen, do you have comments on it?
I think it was the author's intent, that now therefore be resolved by the Tax Commission, following policies and actions be recommended to the mayor and common council for adoption by the city. And so what follows is what the commission is recommending to the mayor and city
Right.
council as policies to be adopted by them. I think it's
Correct.
worded as, I don't think the commission is saying, these are the policies of the city. I think it's,
Right,
these
see
are the
this header
policies
here?
that we would recommend
This header here,
that the city
Is
adopt.
what-
Yeah,
that's what we're saying.
so I don't know, why does it say it is the policy of the city that? Why does it
Be
say
it
that?
further resolved, it is the
It's not
policy
city
of the
policy.
city, except to the extent otherwise required by law, saying that if they have a policy, if by law they have to do something, and they have to do that, that we are asking that they don't do some of these other things. Hopefully.
No, I understand, but I'm just saying the way it's written, it says, I don't know, it just doesn't seem right. It says it is the policy of the city that. That's not. a
We're
request.
recommending, so like you take in the header, we are, the actions, the following policies and actions be recommended. So we're saying, we recommend that it be the policy of the city. That's how like that flows.
We're recommending that they have this
We're
policy,
recommending that it be.
that it be,
policy of
yes,
the-
yes.
That's not what it says. It says it is the policy of the city that.
But but it's
That's-
saying, but it's
that's just
falling
our
under the
resolution.
recommendation of. So the whole thing that's under it is
Sorry if
the
it's obvious to
recommendation.
everyone else, it just wasn't obvious. to
That's
me.
okay, it happens to me too.
No,
I mean,
I
it does.
understand where you're going with the wording. I think
I'm
it's,
just, yeah,
This
so
was-
I'm just trying to figure out what are we asking anyone to do?
I will say I didn't read it that way.
It says happens the passive active thing, so what, yeah, what is our commission actually asking for here?
And now are you clear?
No, that's what, I'm just
Okay.
stating my question.
Okay. So is there a way to clean that up so it would be a little bit more clear since you know what we're asking?
It could be a further resolve that the commission recommends that the policy of the city be, except in the other, the extent otherwise required by state or federal law, that city funds will not be used to. So I don't know if that addresses your concern. To make it clear that this is the recommendation of the commission, that these be policies of the city.
Although we already have it up top, so it's like super bold print. So I don't know how to make it more. This is what,
I mean, maybe you change the is the policy to be the policy, just change that one little word. That might make it a little clearer.
it will be the policy.
Yeah, be a further result that it be the policy.
Yeah, maybe will be instead of is.
Yeah,
Why
something
does it
like
say is?
Yeah, the is a little bit.
Yeah.
But I did.
Okay.
Exactly.
Should be policy.
That should
Yeah,
be-
something
Yeah,
like
or will
that,
be, should be or will be.
well, the city isn't signing it, we are. Just remember that.
Okay.
So,
Well, it's not a question of the wording for me, I just literally am trying to understand what's going on and what we're asking for.
gotcha.
So,
So can you explain what's the objective? Why are we not wanting them to use funds to store or catalog information?
so in other states, because we're kind of looking at, we're taking the steps of like, what has our state already done, and then what are other states doing, that it's possible in January that our state will then do. And one thing that other states are doing is to prosecute people who are having the abortion. So our state right now only prosecutes the provider. But with that being said, if there's any legal means to get a police report about like a provider doing this or that, unless it's stated directly by the law, we shouldn't be putting the person who got the abortion's name on those police reports, right? So we're trying to,
HIPAA,
yes, we're trying to recommend as much as possible that the city does not take part within legal means in putting our funding towards prosecuting people for abortion, or giving any of our government information to,
entities that might be seeking that information
Yes.
to harm anyone with a vaginal
So,
canal, and
like,
they are very much
when you-
seeking to do that.
when you think of like horrible cases like rape where someone gets pregnant, we are obviously have to catalog that. That's due to a criminal investigation. It says that in there, like we have to catalog that. But we're not going to give that information over to, what did it say? Goodness. To any government body or agency. So if the state tells us we have to start doing that, we're saying, as a city, we recommend that you find out how not to do that, Did that clear anything up? I know I'm wordy.
So when it says city funds will not be used to, does that mean who are we making this request to? Okay, to the mayor and the common council.
Yes,
So
that's the entities we're asking.
city funds will not be used to, that means we're asking them not to use these funds. In which department would they be using these funds?
So right now, they're not.
Mhm.
And we're asking going forward that they may. And so
Would it
we
be like the
want to,
prosecutor's office?
A lot of times, these type of funds would be used towards the police department.
that's exactly right.
That's where like the conducting of investigations and things like that would be pushed towards the police department.
Yeah, when you're a victim of a rape or a sexual assault, there's so much data that's collected and sits in a storeroom for years and years and nothing happens with it. But now that they want to create babies, unwanted babies, then they may be pushing that a little bit more quickly.
saying they're very lightweight.
Yeah.
Did anyone on Zoom have questions? I'm so sorry. No?
Commissioner Brown Sparks, do you have any questions for us or?
Or comments?
Yeah.
Okay, what is the $75,000 going to? I'm sorry, I missed that part. I don't understand that part. Where is that going to? I understand
Yeah, yeah.
that you don't want the city to use funds to go after women that get abortions. You don't want them to keep information so that it may be to find women. I understand that. I was raped and got pregnant and had to have a medical abortion at the hospital. So I feel you on that. I get you. But what is the $75,000 going to?
It's a very good question. I'll take the first half and then my co-author can take the second half.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The need is already showing, they're already showing a greater need for services in Bloomington at Planned Parenthood and at All Options relating to pregnancies and reproductive health and vaginal health, not just reproductive health, but vaginal health. So it could go for what these programs spend their money for aside from abortion. So it could go for more diapers. It could go for writing, paying somebody to write a grant to get something else. It can go for whatever their program is needing at that specific time. And Planned Parenthood, I think we all know how much they do outside of abortion for all genders and non-binary people. So does that answer your question a little bit?
I get you. Now I understand. I don't understand where that part came in. So that's why I was like, well, that.
And if I left anything out, please tag team me on that.
I think you basically covered it. Yeah, it's reproductive, gynecological, and any parenting related expenses done by these programs. And I want to also say, like, we'll be in contact with our representatives, obviously, once we get this passed, and we'll be like, hey, these are the two agencies that are like the most prominent members for this, but we do recommend that you do this for other agencies too. This is just like it's going to be an immediate need, and it's going to continue to increase. So it's like, we've got to figure out, like the grants they've gotten in the past, they told us usually 6 to 8K.
Yeah.
So.
And sometimes 2,500.
Yeah, so this would really help them in like creating all these avenues. Also, Commissioner Brown Sparks, they are talking about possibly doing like a call resource line, kind of similar to what we were talking about in reparations and atonement. So I'll touch base with you about what we were talking about. It was not related to this directly, but I just wanted to let you know that was happening.
Turn the other way.
Oh, sorry. I have to like look at you or here. And the camera's here.
This is
I'm
the
so sorry.
camera. This is the camera.
I will add to Commissioner Brown Sparks, when I first read that paragraph of the 75,000, I blinked like 5 times. I was like, just keep reading. And I did, and it's very, yes.
And let us just say this, or let me just say this, it started out with a line item of 300,000. So while you blink at 75,000, we blinked a little bit at 300 and lowered that. So to a more maybe amicable amount for our city.
Most other cities were doing 200 to 300,000.
Correct.
And so we started with that, and then I was like, okay, let's like look up our population numbers.
Yeah, we did
Let's
it by
see
demographics.
what similar cities of our population size have done this, and we landed about 100. So anywhere from 50 to 100.
Is there a way for us to get our city to push for more aid for these families, like through SNAP and TANF and WIC? Because if people are forced to have these children, then they're going to need be able to have more food stamps and more formula for these kids. And they want to take people off of these programs and not give them assistance. But if you force people to have these children, how are you going to feed the kids?
That is spot on, Commissioner Brown Sparks, and this is the beginning legislation passed to the city. They haven't gotten anything from anyone yet. And let it be us that gives them the first piece to look at and start getting it on their agendas now, because it's budget season.
Oh, yeah.
So, that's, and I think this is saying, this is what we're thinking. They're gonna also, when we meet with, council members, we will be saying the same thing you just said. So I'm glad you said it.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
crime will increase because people are going to go to jail for stealing formula.
Yes, they will.
Because
But we're gonna say, don't put people in jail for stealing formula. Give us some more resources for formula. And this is partially what this is about.
That's
So-
where the parenting related, I thought it was really important. that we put that
Exactly,
in.
the parenting related section of this is, yeah, exactly. what it is.
As we've seen in past circumstances, especially where you're receiving public assistance, it's always the last idea to give family the resources that they need to survive. So you can only be hopeful that they jump on the bandwagon sooner than later, as seen in the past. It's just like, yeah.
You said that.
Summarize the timing of this for me. Did you say you were hoping we would vote on it today?
Yes, we were hoping to.
Yeah.
Hoping to, yes.
Budget is so soon, I think
Yeah.
that.
To get it in time, the purpose is to get it in time for the city budget.
Yes.
Yeah, we're
Kind
hoping.
of put that pressure on them.
So I would like to hear, do you have any additional comments or any comments, Commissioner McCullough?
Yeah, I was like, I think you're looking at me, but you know.
But I'm looking up here and I'm looking here.
Yeah, so I think the
Yeah.
time, there's two things I want to state. I think the time we spent on the way it's worded that the city will work is important, because in all the issues that I've gotten involved in, it seems like it's an easy way to say these services will take care of it somehow, right? Because they're doing that work. But they can't do that work unless we support them. And I have experience with helping with Mother Hubbard's Covered that like some of the people they get are because it's like that, this is the way it should be. And as a grad student worker, there was the issue of like, isn't it so great that we have a food pantry on campus to support the grad students? No, it's not so great. So this is the other thing I wanted to say was like the document nerd part of me is this resolution pushes that. This is that feet to the fire. And I totally think the fire needs to be lit now.
Well, thank you for that comment, those comments. Anybody else have any?
I do have one more question. In terms of the second bullet point, in terms of budget, we talked a little about this earlier in different contexts. But should we include something? Because I actually intended to get up during budget week and
You're
speak during public comment.
intending what?
To get up during budget week and speak during public comment.
Okay,
And make a plea for a budget for us, because you know, with the genealogy background, research is very expensive to do.
Yeah.
So I was curious about asking for even just a small budget for us to be able to conduct more research, because this is an old problem, a 50-year-old problem, but it's becoming a brand new problem, and who's keeping track of people dying, who's keeping track of domestic violence, who's keeping track of, you know, the increased expenses because of the children, who's keeping track of any of this stuff? You know, and I see us as an entity that could help gather that information.
mhm.
So I'm curious if we should maybe include something like that for us as well.
When you say for us, are you talking about our commission?
Yes, yes, for us as a commission. To be able to do outreach and gather data.
So
I mean, has that issue come up before?
It-
Budget-wise in terms
it
of
has,
gathering?
budgeting and asking for money has come up, and we so far have gotten the
I know it was in
answer.
the annual report requested.
Yeah.
Right, it
We
sure
got the
was.
answer, no, that was not part of the commission.
Right, and what was part of the commission, Jordan, or, was, there was a fund set aside, I'm turning to legal here. There was a fund set aside specifically for outreach, for doing help me out, any one of you that remember,
The event,
an event type setting where we can gather, we can talk with our community and we can get to know them better. We can perhaps feed them and gather data.
Okay.
And
The other departments in the city, that staff boards and commissions, at least community and human resources, they let me know that they budget for sort of signature events for many of their commissions.
Okay.
So, as a general matter, commissions don't have just an annual operating budget or anything like that, but one path that other commissions have followed to get funding is through some sort of signature program or specific event. And so that was just information I passed along to the commission. Certainly you all can request whatever you feel like you want to request. It's up to you.
so I think it's a good idea for us to request funding. I'm not sure if requesting funding in this
Yeah.
is the place for it, but I mean, it might be, I don't know. It seems like it might be a different.
I just thought it might be,
With the program,
related, as it is a budget question, since we're addressing budget already, it might be the time to do it.
Right, it might be.
It is a budget in a different context.
Yeah.
It's much different context, yeah.
because if anything, I want to say, hey, you need to have a budget of experts who study these things, like we're talking about trying to get, money for this other area and trying to study our community that way, but it's like, we recognize that we can do as much research and we can do all that kind of stuff, but we're only at max gonna be 11 people. And so I feel like the city should be looking into that stuff, looking into how is this affecting our community. I don't know if we would be the best
I think they already
committee for
are.
that. Yeah.
As much as they can.
Yeah.
So, do we want to, get back into the conversation of possibly, approving this?
Brown Sparks, were you gonna say something earlier?
I was just saying this would fit in with the program that I've been talking about the whole time.
It absolutely does.
In all options, they said if they got a large enough grant, they would be working on a program just like what you've been talking about. So if we could get the city to do something like this, we can all definitely get in contact with those different agencies and say, hey, we've been talking, Pamela Brown Sparks has been talking a long time about these things, and you can kind of bring up your ideas and we can actually get some footing going, because we can't ask for the money for that, but if the city gives it to another organization, we can work with them and get it actually rolling.
I'm not quite sure what Commissioner Brown Sparks was discussing, so.
So-
Victoria, give me a quick rundown of that.
So before, she had mentioned back on page 1 under reports, reparations and atonement, she had
Okay.
mentioned Bloomington Find Help.
Gotcha. Okay,
That,
I'm saying, all right.
okay,
Having like a central support hub that people can call, people can hopefully have a website for it.
When we were in the CHIPS meeting on Friday,
Oh, is that what you were talking about then?
yeah, and they showed that site. And they were talking about how there were the different organizations that offered help And I said I was going to the navigator training.
Okay, all right, I understand, all right.
And all options is thinking about a helpline that's a little bit more pointed
Okay.
towards their outreach and not quite as broad as the one that Commissioner Brown Sparks is speaking of.
Right, okay.
So, and I would entertain a motion to pass this resolution tonight with changing the one word that Commissioner Routsong had suggested, and I think I'm full agreement with that.
I was gonna say, do we need to like print out the new one or edit that before we pass or whenever?
Well, if you could clarify exactly what's being changed, so I believe it's the sentence before the 3 bullet points on page 10. Where it says it is the policy of the city that.
Yes.
Are we changing is to should be?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was, it is recommended.
It is recommended that the policy of the city be, except to the extent otherwise required by state or federal law, that city funds will not be used to.
Correct.
Okay. I've got that in writing, so if the commission is all right with that, then.
I will second it with that amendment.
So yeah,
Okay. All right, so let's do.
I think we should do a
our
voice
vote.
vote. I
Yes.
think-
Commissioner, oh my goodness gracious.
Did we say what we're doing?
Yes, we are going to vote on the resolution 22 -2, protection of reproductive rights and freedom. So I will start with Commissioner Brown Sparks. What's your vote?
Yay.
Commissioner McCollum.
Yes.
Okay. Let's try to make eye contact with you guys. Commissioner Ford.
Yes.
Commissioner Carey, yes. Commissioner Miller.
Yes.
Commissioner Porter Mesh.
Yes.
Commissioner Brown Song. I'm gonna.
You got it. You got it right.
All right, so moved, guys. All right, it has been approved. Yay.
That is our second resolution of 2022.
Yay. All right, and I'm gonna make a motion that we take a short 10-minute break, if that's okay. with
I'll
everyone.
second that.
Yes.
Any
No objections here?
Any objections to that?
Yeah, can you actually email me some more information about the navigator thing you're looking into? Because I was just on the website, I'm looking all over, I'm not finding anything, so.
Hard to find. So like I had to keep searching like streams of messages from people to find it. So I have an email thing that has like the date that says like I'm enrolled. So I can send you that. But now I don't know if I'm allowed to do it because I got a letter from somebody from the audio person that he's the person that's supposed to do that. So I'm gonna ask her tomorrow and see if it's okay if I still go to the training that I've already signed up for. Because she said something about trying to get a training here, maybe. So I'm gonna find out, okay, if I still do the training that I had already signed up for and see what happens from there.
Okay.
So Jason, how's my friend Chris doing? Have you met with him yet?
Chris?
Yeah. Chris Richardson, did you get to meet with him yet?
Oh, no, that. I was like, I keep
He's
forgetting
wonderful.
who those connections are. Yeah.
He's absolutely wonderful.
Yeah. That's the one I'm looking forward to because the others are Zoom. I'm like, I'm here and I'm still Zooming with them. And I'm like,
Tell him I said hi.
will do.
Thank you. He's great.
Yeah, thanks for connecting me.
He seems really
Purposes.
Yes.
So we can bring the meeting back to order. Our next thing on the agenda is the IU student, the START program.
Our update on that is the research committee will be looking into that our next meeting. I don't know if anyone else has done anything with it.
I tried to look it up the other day. I found a webpage for it, but it didn't have a whole lot of information, so I'm not quite sure what exactly this program is.
So you, since you're going to be in the, our committee, and well, actually, everybody got one in the packet last time.
I can
Stephen,
make sure you got that information.
oh, thank you.
For that.
You always read my mind. You know what I'm going to ask, don't you?
Yeah, we got like a whole 20-page packet on.
On the START program, so you'll get it.
All right.
Yeah.
We got a 20-page packet on the START program?
Well, no, it was an arbitrary number I sent.
Oh,
I think that,
Yeah, I don't know how long it was. It was in, what was it, last meeting?
It was a million pages. No,
I just know that agenda was
It was
literally like.
pretty thick.
it was a thick packet.
because I kept talking about it and nobody knew what I was talking about.
That's the one I dropped off at your house.
Yeah, thank you so much. Because I
You're
kept,
welcome. You're welcome.
nobody knew what I was talking about. And I was like, thank
Okay. All right, so I guess since that is the report on the START program, we can move down to new business, and I see something here about the public information officer. Or public information officer to say that.
Yeah, I brought up having just to have a dialogue about a PIO, which is short for Public Information Officer. And we were talking about it a little bit. And I really think that Stephen is probably our PIO, really. If we ask you to do a press release or something, that would be you, correct? My apologies.
Yes, the council office provides general administrative support for the commission, so any requests like that you have, do our best to help with. Beyond administrative support, if you have other questions, research questions, again, we've been short staffed for a while now, but we have new folks coming on, so we do our best to help with whatever we can. So, but yes, press releases, any administrative type things, that's in our office.
So
I did get this in email with our vacancies being displayed. I did wanted to mention that, so thank you.
And I would like to say that we would like a press release sent to the Common Council and to the mayor that we have passed this resolution, and to look for it in their where are we going to inbox it, or can we get hard copies for them as soon as those are signed?
Yes, we can get hard copies, will be posted to the tax commission website, and send a link to it.
I would also like them to have physical hard copies. Because there's nothing better than a physical copy.
Sure.
And I'd like a press release, we would like a press release sent to WFHB, WTIU, WFIU, and others.
Yeah.
Bloomingtonian and Beacon. And Katz already has it. And thank you for that. Would you like to write it and let maybe Shelby and I take
I'll
one
follow
look
up,
at it?
yes, send it out and looking at it.
Thank you. Yeah, we've got meetings the next 3 days about this, or 2 days. So one more document to look at will not kill us. We just keep making coffee.
Yes.
It is that. Okay, so are we ready to move on to the help, helping Bloomington Monroe findhelp.com on the business, or did we address that early on in the meeting?
we've already addressed that.
Thank you again.
Do we have any other business? Topics for future agendas?
I did have a couple of things.
Mhm.
Alright, so, my mental health care physician is, her name is Rebecca Moore. She is the, healthcare provider at the county jail.
Mhm.
I spoke with her on Wednesday.
Mhm.
I had one with her, and I brought up that I had an interview that I was expected to be appointed. And I suggested, I was trying to get some more information from her, and I suggested that she might be a guest speaker for us to come in and talk to us and help us better
Rebecca who?
more.
Thank you.
I thought she'd be a great resource to help us better understand the needs of those who are currently incarcerated at the county jail.
What's her position?
I'm not sure of her exact title, but she told me she is the current, I believe, sole healthcare provider. She has both physical and mental health at the county jail. She said it's her at the top, and then there's two therapists below her that tend to see the people in there. I'm not gonna say we're inmates. But she, the way I understand it, is like kind of the lead medical officer at the jail.
Okay. That needs to be that. That's a great idea, I should say. Yes.
So maybe we could all learn who she is more.
Mhm. I've heard the name before. It's not the first time I've heard the name.
Yeah,
Is
she
she-
used to
is
work
she-
for IU Health, but she has her own private practice now.
Okay, so she's not a officer?
No.
Okay. I can't find her with a quick one. So-
I can send them over the link to her private practice, so you guys can get a better idea who she is.
Who she is. That'd be great, because I know we have decided to vet anybody that we decide to have as a guest speaker.
Right, yeah, that's really nice.
And then if you send us the information, hopefully everyone can look at it.
And then we can go, yay.
Yeah, next meeting, we can say, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Or whenever she's gonna end up being available.
I will tell you just upfront, we kind of came up with an idea that guest speakers were going to be, wasn't it 20 minutes? Take up 20
I don't
minutes.
know,
of our
I didn't
time.
know we decided to vet guest speakers.
Yeah, we had kind of decided that it was a good idea to all agree to guest speakers in the future. So I think it was 20 minutes out of our meetings.
I feel like I've interacted with her before. I just have to get a face, but
Mhm.
I haven't personally heard anything that is alarming, but definitely. I mean, maybe, can we do that via email and agree
Yeah, that's
on
right.
that? Okay,
Yeah, that's
perfect,
right.
okay.
So it was 20 minutes was like 10 of them talking, her talking, and then 10 question answer, but it depends on what she would be preparing.
Speak for 20 minutes. I thought the person got to speak for 20 minutes and then we got to ask.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I needed somebody else to help me with the timing. I really
Yeah,
appreciate
I'm
that,
around.
Commissioner Brownspark, that you remembered. Because I just remembered 20 minutes, but I didn't know the breakdown.
Yes.
So thank you.
And does
So
anyone
a
else?
total of a half hour.
And obviously you could send us like the things you'd be interested in discussing with us and things like that. If she thinks like, hey, I'm gonna need more time than that, then let us know. Because we did say it'd be case by case, so.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, alright, yeah, I'll be sure to get all the information I can.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
It's a good idea. It's good to know what our inmates are going through now.
Yeah,
Some of us know what inmates went through before, but it is 2022.
and especially in the middle of the pandemic, still, they cut off all. the
Exactly.
programs, it's just that, it's a lot in. So,
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's hard to get a look at that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then also, okay, does anyone else have anything else that's a future agenda?
I have one more item, if I may.
Sure.
Sure.
Okay, so, in May, the General Assembly passed HB 1041, which barred transgender girls from competing in school athletics, on the girls team. As a trans person myself, that's something that's very personal to me.
Mhm.
And it's very much a public safety issue, these kinds of
Oh, yeah.
laws, I've experienced trans violence. And these kind of laws just further that kind of attitude. So I thought that would be something really important for us to take out. It is currently being litigated and it's obviously unconstitutional, it's not gonna stand. But just as a show of support to our local trade community, I thought it'd be something worthwhile.
I wonder if that's something that we could possibly visit the idea of writing a letter, not necessarily a resolution, but writing a letter of support to our trans community members. And so, and then having a press release about that, so others know that we stand firmly with our community members.
Yeah, for sure. And that's something I can take up if you guys would like me to.
I'll work on it with you. I'd be happy to work on it with you. Yeah, that's really important. It's important to me too.
And I did reach out to, I guess they're called, I just feel now last name for them. But I did send them an email today and asked if I could speak with somebody about if there was anybody in the group that particular, but just get some more feedback from the trans youth in town specifically.
I can hook you up with quite a few people that you may or may not already know.
Oh, yeah, that'd be awesome.
So you have my email, it's renmiller241.
All right.
We have anything else there? So I believe we are at adjournment. Would anybody like to make a motion?
Making a motion. I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
And I'm going to second it, and I'm sure there are, okay, are there any objections? All right, we are adjourned.
We almost finished on time. We're only 7 minutes late.
Yeah.
I think that's a new record.
It is.
It might be.
It is, most definitely. All right, Steven, if you want to send that to me.